Hello everyone, thank you very much for tuning in and welcome back to another episode here at the Aquarium Project. If you haven't already, make sure to like and subscribe, and yeah, let's jump into it. So before we get going, I'll just show you this. This is our big display tank with the arowana, the Oscars, common pleco, ornate Baisha, two common plecos, and that's about it. But we've also got this guy here, which is a red Oscar. So he has been across here. Many of you, if you've been into the shop recently, will have seen him. He's been in this tank here. Basically, he just copped a little bit of a beating. I'm not sure who gave it to him, but he wasn't looking too happy. So what we did is we took him out, and he's been up there for a couple of months just recovering and putting on a little bit more size. But what I've done is I've chucked this divider back in and put him back in there, and he's going to be probably a day, maybe 2 days in this little divided section off just by himself before we reintroduce him to the rest of the group, just to let everyone get readjusted. I don't want to just chuck him in and then have him get beaten up. No one's going to like that. We'll just, yeah, let him get settled and then he can go back in there. He's a really cool fish. I think so I got like two red tigers, like these two red tigers, these two albino tigers, and then having one red will be cool. I did used to have my other red called Jeremy that's down the end in his own tank, but he just wouldn't get on, unfortunately. Him and this red tiger here just hated each other. They used to be friends, then they hated each other, so I've decided Jeremy gets his own tank for life and these guys can just hang out with each other. So I'll keep you guys updated with how that all gets along, how we get along, adding them back to each other. I might record that when I do that, maybe set up a time lapse or something. But yeah, just wanted to show you guys that before we get cranking on today's main informational topic for today's video. So as usual, I'll just walk around and give a bit of a store tour kind of thing while I talk for interest's sake, but I'm just going to show you guys around, show you some of the fish and plants and stuff, and then I'll just be talking over it because today's episode isn't going to have much visual aid needed, essentially. So yeah. So this here is what we're going to be talking about today. Well, this is the Seachem Matrix, but we'll be talking about filter media in general. So for those of you who are unaware, basically what we're going to be discussing is, so in a filter you've got your what they call it, biological filter media, and that is just available surface area for the bacteria that processes the waste of the fish to basically colonize and live on. These bacteria live on the surfaces and make the aquarium safe for your inhabitants, be it fish or shrimp or invertebrates or whatever. It just breaks down their waste, and so this is one of the most important things someone can put in their filter. This is the only one that's strictly necessary, whatever it may be. The rest is like your chemical or mechanical media. Basically just makes the tank look nice, but isn't something that's strictly needed, in that you can have it going and the tank isn't going to die without it. But if you don't have any biological filtration, unfortunately things are going to die. Not going to make it. So what we're going to be talking about today is something that I think is a bit problematic within the industry in particular, and that is that when we're talking about biological media, what we talk about a lot of the time is how much surface area, how much available surface area there is. We rate different brands or models according to how much surface area they will allow us to have, and I think that's definitely useful to have, but essentially here's my controversial opinion. If you're getting to the point where your aquarium is running out of surface area for your bacteria and you're having cycling issues because of it, you've not got enough media anyway. Any media that you use is going to have enough surface area, be it the cheapest Aqua One bulk media, or if you're using Seachem Matrix or the Cerasiporax or whatever super fancy, big, expensive stuff you're using, is all going to have enough surface area to keep the tank functioning. The only caveat I'm going to put in here is what I'm saying here applies for like a normal aquarium, like this aquarium. Like there's deep enough substrate, you've got decorations and stuff. I'm not talking about if you're keeping like a bare tank with nothing in it, it's just a glass box with like bare bottom and no decorations because you're keeping like flower horn or arowanas or something. Probably this video isn't going to apply to what you're saying. This is going to be more for those higher density of stuff tanks, like your general aquariums. If you're keeping a arowana or flower horn or something like that in that kind of environment, you might want to invest in something that's got a bit higher of a surface area. But for like a general community tank, African cichlid tank, American cichlid tank, goldfish tank, whatever, this is kind of all going to apply. So generally speaking, there's going to be enough surface area in the aquarium to ensure that your stock is going to be able to have enough biological filtration, like the colony is going to be big enough to allow that filtration to work. And what I mean by that is if they max out the filter, they're going to colonize in the substrate, on the ornaments, on the decorations, anywhere basically. Whatever you have in your aquarium, they're going to live there. And that is obviously a great thing, because what that does is that gives you more than one option. If you have a power cut, then you've still got biological filtration colonies living around other places where they can just transfer across and your tank isn't going to completely die. The thing I think we run into is a lot of times it's like, this is particularly... So a lot of people watching will probably be like, oh yeah, it's all big fish companies like screwing over the little guy. And that's not 100% what I'm talking about. Even there's a very popular website called Aquarium Science, which is always advocating for like using, I think it's like pot scrubbies, and that's great, but I don't think personally it really matters. I don't think having that extra surface area is going to make a difference. What you want is the flow going around the tank and having enough options. Again, with that caveat, if you've got something that's going to have very low surface area of an aquarium, then it's probably going to matter, but for like a general kind of aquarium, like what a lot of you guys will be keeping, it actually, I don't think does matter. Just get any old filter media will work. You of course can use the pot scrubbies, use like the cheap bulk Aqua One, I can't remember what they call it, but the Aqua One cheap, yeah, I can't remember what they call it. Like, it's something weird. It's like not a real word, but whatever. Like use that. Just use whatever. It just doesn't really make much of a difference. But any biological media is going to be able to run a tank efficiently, and I think that's the important thing. It doesn't really matter what you use so long as there's something. If your bacteria has enough places to colonize, that is the important part. That's the most important part. That's the only thing anyone really needs to know is your aquarium going to be happy enough and able to sustain life? So my basic thought is, like, you see it all the time, is like, you got $100 worth to spend on your biological media for your sump build, say. And that's great. So you can either buy... Okay, these prices I'm going to just pull out because I don't know what... I didn't do the maths beforehand, but say you've got, like, $100 to make it. You can buy... Say $100 is going to buy you 2 liters worth of matrix, or it's going to buy you 30 liters of Seachem matrix, or it's going to buy you 30 liters of scoria. Either one is going to be enough to get everything going, keep everything happy, make everything run. But for that sort of an option, you're going to want to probably use the scoria because it's going to fill more volume because you've got that sump, and so you're going to get more bang for your buck. Maybe you've got a smaller filter and like you've just got, I don't know, it's a fry tank, you've got a sponge filter and nothing else. That'll also be fine. And a sponge is probably not the world's best biological media, but it doesn't matter because they both get the job done, and I think that's what we need to focus on. The whole argument around the surface area being the most important thing, I don't think is probably 100% true. I think it does lead to a bit of confusion where it's like, oh yeah, I bought the $100 filter media, so my tank will cycle easier and it will be more stable. Where actually I think there's a lot more things that will kind of influence that rather than the actual media itself. So yeah, I mean, that's kind of, I guess, the general video thesis, I guess, is like, don't stress so much about the media hype, I guess. Just buy whatever media works for you. For me personally, I much prefer using the ceramic noodles and that. I find it's always much easier to clean them out. Like things like pot scrubbies or like the Eheim. I don't know if you guys have seen it, like Eheim does these little like circular ones and that. I find those always get clogged way easier, and then it's harder to clean them out and that. So that's like my personal preference. But I mean, plenty of people prefer pot scrubbies, plenty of people just prefer filter foam, like whatever. That is the most important thing. Just whatever works for you. Do not stress about, but Matrix has heaps of surface area, but I much prefer using, I don't know, that Eheim one I mentioned. Doesn't matter, just basically end of the day, just use whatever you want to use whatever works for you, because they are all going to do the job and they're all going to filter your tank effectively. Keeping enough of a colony going, honestly, it doesn't really have much to do with the actual media itself that you're using. The water changes you're doing, your nutrient management, all this kind of thing is going to be much, much, much more important. So yeah, I mean, that's basically all I had for today. I hope that's clear enough for you guys to understand, and I hope that maybe answers some questions around what's the difference between media, because like very, very basically, media is media. It doesn't really matter. They're different shapes, different sizes, work for different things, just like it's easier to fit some stuff into other spaces, like whatever, but I don't think they're going to make much difference in terms of the actual filtration capacity of the aquarium. So I hope you enjoyed it. Thank you guys very much for watching. Let me know what you guys use. I'd really like to, I'm kind of doing a little bit of research at the moment about what you guys prefer to use, like media wise. I think it'll be useful information for me to have, to be able to maybe help you guys when you come into the shop, for maybe to be able to give better advice. Is like, most people use this one, so they must know what they're doing. So yeah, drop down what you use. Otherwise, thank you guys very much for watching. I really appreciate it. Make sure to like and subscribe and all that good stuff, and we'll catch you in the next one. See ya.